Hello guys, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back reviewing the next episode of Doctor Who Flux, which is entitled Village of the Angels, and we are now more than halfway through the series, which is a blessing but also a curse. It means that we still have 2 more episodes of Doctor Who Flux and 2 more episodes to round out everything that we've been told and everything that's been set up, but I doubt it will be. But also it means that we are 2 episodes away from the actual end of Flux, and there having to be some kind of wrapping up to determine whether this series was a good idea and not a complete waste of time. So like normal, we'll start off with the plot, and for me, I feel like this was a pretty strong plot. There's a really strong idea in here. The idea of sort of time manipulation, and that the older Peggy was in 1966 and the younger one was back in 1901, and that meant that there was this kind of connection between time, I suppose, and the Weeping Angels were manipulating time, and I really loved that kind of idea, and the set pieces with the Weeping Angels really established them as a huge threat. I personally constantly felt like they could not blink, and they were constantly under surveillance by the Angels, being tracked down moment by moment, and constantly in danger, which is excellent. Yet I do feel like the episode is trying to push the Flux, the division more than it probably should, because Village of the Angels stands alone by itself in many respects. I think that the plot deserves that attention, and yet, you know, they start throwing in the division halfway through, and then it just feels like they're kind of just running towards that cliffhanger once again without really establishing what they've laid out, which I think could be really, really cool. But I don't think they quite get to where I'd like them to get with the main part of the episode. And as for the Doctor, because we always start off with the Doctor, I feel like she did really well this week. Last week I felt like she slipped into that Series 11 kind of esque performance, but this time I think she was very consistently what I like to see of her Doctor, this more quippy but very serious, very headstrong but kind of all over the place as her Doctor is, and I really liked that the playing off that she did with Kevin McNally, I think his name is, where she played off him a lot and kind of had a lot of interesting interactions with him and, of course, Claire. And then for her companions, for Dan and Yaz, they're kind of separated once again this week. And I feel like both of them are doing a pretty good job here. I think John Bishop and Amanda Gill are kind of falling a little bit back this week as the division stuff has begun to take hold again. But John Bishop I've really liked from the beginning, so I think he's kind of cemented himself for me as Dan, and he doesn't really need to try to make me like him within an episode. I suppose he has enough to do at the end of the day, and so does Mandip Gill, but at the same time I feel like I'm slightly less detached from her, because I'm not actually quite sure what she's about because of Series 11 and Series 12 not really going into it. I mean, Can You Hear Me tried to, but I think did it appallingly. So I think that's just an issue that I have with Yaz, and with something that won't necessarily change, but I hope that it does, because she's getting, each week, I keep saying this, each week she does kind of go up a bit more in my estimations. I enjoyed her a little bit of, the officer training coming into play a bit more, which I think was a good idea on Chibnall's part. And what monsters were in this episode, I can hardly remember, but I mean, the Weeping Angels are amazing in this episode. I mean, they're probably the highlight. I mean, I've said before in the past that I don't think Weeping Angels should come back, because if they came back, they don't really have anything to do with them. And in many respects, they don't. It's the same whole don't blink, don't look away, it's the image of an angel is an angel. It's all the same ideas, but I think it was done really well from a directional standpoint that made them quite menacing. And there's some interesting new elements in there, such as a division, which I think will make a big impact on the rest of the series. Fingers crossed. This week I've got both highlights and lowlights. My highlight is, I think, obviously the cliffhanger. That sequence just at the end is brilliant. The way that they transform her, I think was really cool. I think it's probably more of a design choice than an actual thing, because it could have been a simple teleport and she's gone, but maybe you'd have to make her an angel before you teleported her away. That's my understanding of it. So I thought that was cool. And for a low light this week, I think it's the idea that you're just stated things about the Division and it's getting a bit boring now, where it's like the Division are really important, or the Division are everywhere, but we're not actually being shown this. And moreover than that, is that a word? I don't think so. But more than that, we're not getting any further than the Doctor just asking people whether who she is, what she is. You know, she did it with Calvin Easter in episode 1. You know, who am I? And he didn't really know, and she's asked the angel, and the angel doesn't really know. So who does? And will we actually get answers for this thing, or is Chibnall just enjoying creating an interesting mystery? Nicely, I can move on to my negatives, because that's also a form of negative at the end of the day, but I don't think it really felt like it was such a criticism until we've got the rest of the series, because we're not sure where the Division thing is going, and we all know that Chibnall likes to tease things, so maybe he's teasing still, and just kind of really hoping that it pays off at the end. But my actual negative for this episode is that I feel like the Claire thing and the turning into an angel, which is like part of it, part of her story, I felt like some of that was a bit bizarre and very much something that we've seen before. Not bizarre, but something that we've seen before. I'm not personally sure whether the Doctor stating, "Oh, that's impossible," was really needed when the same literally happened to Amy 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure I mentioned my final criticism during my plot section, but I think that the almost abandonment, or the mistreatment, it would be a better word, of the 1900s stuff, because it's all based on this mystery, and the first like 40 minutes, maybe even 50, are based on this mystery, and I'm not sure whether that really gets a nice or satisfactory conclusion at the end of the day, which has kind of put me off the episode slightly. And then finally, for the feel, and it's all about how I felt watching this episode. For a lot of it, I felt quite confused. Well, not confused, but kind of puzzled and curious what the mystery is going to be. And sadly, we obviously, in my point of view, didn't quite get that conclusion that I was after. But there's an awful lot of suspenseful scenes. There's a lot of cool scenes and cool moments. And I think Jodie Whittaker did a really good job here. So I quite liked this episode. Let me know what you think of this episode down in the comments below. Obviously, I'll probably be doing my predictions video this week when I talk about the predictions for the next episode. And we're going into episode 5 now, so we're coming towards the finale. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.